Hello friends, Axel here. Let's talk Marvel Rivals on the Steam controller. So first thing before we jump into the game itself, one thing I want to talk about, we go to our controller settings here, is the grip sense feature that the new Steam controller has. So this takes a lot of getting used to, and there's really no right answer on what settings are going to feel best. So this is something you really need to play around with, but grip sense is going to be one of the things that I'm going to be using in this video. Technically, it's optional. You do not have to use it. But if you do want to use it, you really got to play around with the settings and just get a feel for what works best for you. So you can kind of notice by the arrows there, I kind of have my sliders like the opposite of how they are by default. I have found that requiring a bit more explicit of an initial grab, but then making it like harder to accidentally let go, I have found that generally feels better to me. But yeah, you really just need to play around with it and get a feel for things. That's all we need to go into for controller settings. Let's jump into the game. Okay, so the first thing you will notice if you're doing gyro to mouse, which is what I recommend, but there are caveats, we'll get to that. If you do gyro to mouse and you just have your in-game settings default and everything, you have grip sense activated. We get the switching devices thing every time the game like detects that you're changing between the different devices. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to fix that. If you go into your settings, keyboard, under combat, scroll down to the HUD section and lock UI buttons. With that, we no longer get the device switching thing. You will, however, notice that our on-screen prompts on the HUD, oddly not for some of the like the top left stuff or some of the other buttons, only for our actual like actions in the bottom right there, those are locked to keyboard and mouse. There is a small workaround for this. If you just hold up on your D-pad to show all your abilities, this does show based on the button that you press to bring it up. So up D-pad, you will see your controller buttons. Otherwise, though, you kind of need to just remember for the particular character that you're playing what your bindings are. Now, there is another way around this that I'm not going to recommend for several reasons, but you technically can also do gyro to joystick, and the in-game settings do actually let you make that feel pretty good. So generally for a gyro to joystick, you'd want to have this at linear, but most importantly, you are setting the dead zones and everything to 0. And then you can actually get gyro to joystick to feel pretty good in this game. However, technically if you do that, it's a mouse pretending to be a joystick, which I think I remember seeing some stuff about like on console, there's like adapters or something that let you do just that, but that's considered cheating on console. So I don't know what the situation with that is on PC, but it could also be seen as cheating on PC. So I think it's better to just stick with gyro to mouse just to be safe. So anyway, with the caveats out of the way, focusing on gyro to mouse. The gyro settings that I'm going to be showing you are based on the default in-game mouse sensitivity of 4. You also want to make sure that smoothing and acceleration are turned off and that raw input is on. And once you have that set as such, we're going to go into our Steam input settings and let's look at gyro to mouse. So go into Steam input, go to the cogwheel here, and the first thing you'll want to decide on is your gyro buttons. So in my case, I have it set to right pad touch and the right grip. On Steam Deck, I did have it set to the right stick touch, but that can kind of have some issues in the menu. Let me actually go back out of the practice range to kind of show that. So if we go back to gyro and turn back on right stick touch for that, and just activate that. Kind of get some weird, like it's mostly just UI flickering stuff. I've noticed before that sometimes, okay, I think she's like kind of skipping around way faster than she should be with the spin here. So I took it off of right stick touch because it can cause problems in the menu. So I recommend trying with grip sense, but if this doesn't bother you or you're good with working around it, then go ahead and do right stick touch for gyro activation if you'd like. I am going to leave it off though. All right, let's get to our other settings. Now, technically, if you just want to keep things super simple and you don't want to worry about like fine-tuning your gyro settings, you can ignore this number for now, leave it at default, and you can just change the gyro sensitivity slider here until it feels good. That is an option that you have. And really, the number that I do have set here, it is lower than the default of 6565. So realistically, still isn't going to feel super different than it being properly calibrated. But yeah, you can just leave most of that default just to whatever sensitivity is comfortable for you, and then you will have a pretty good gyro experience that way. But yeah, this would not be as interesting of a showcase video if I didn't go into calibrating it and explaining why we might want to calibrate it. So for quick reference, at default mouse sensitivity, if you adjust the mouse sensitivity in-game to account for maybe occasionally playing with a mouse instead of your gamepad, you will need to calibrate this number yourself. This is based strictly on the default sensitivity in-game of 4. So it is 5143. There are a few ways you can calibrate this. There is a website that is mouse-sensitivity.com, and then you just plug in the numbers on that. Flickstick Vids has a good tutorial of how to use that website. Alternatively, you can follow the tuning tip that they have at the last sentence of the little description here. Temporarily bind a button to the turn camera 360-degree action in the camera actions tab to help calibrate the gyro's real-world angles with in-game angles. That's another option if mousesensitivity.com doesn't have accurate information for the game you're trying to calibrate. So yeah, to save you guys time, the number for Marvel Rivals here is 5143. One non-gyro reason that you might want to calibrate that is if instead of a normal joystick, you want to do Flickstick. I have never really gotten a feel for Flickstick myself, but basically what that is you press the stick in a direction, your character will turn to face that direction. So any of the benefits of Flickstick should be pretty obvious. You need to like quickly look behind you to do a thing and watch your team die at the last moment that you approach. Flickstick can come in handy for that. And, you know, if you get used to it, then yeah, it's probably really helpful. I've just never really been able to get comfortable with Flickstick because just years of muscle memory of normal camera usage. Oh god, don't die. If I practiced with it, I could probably get used to Flickstick and it'd be fine, but I'm going to leave this on joystick because that is what I'm comfortable with. What I tend to do myself is just high sensitivity joystick, and then that just feels best to me, and then I do my accuracy with the gyro. Okay, quick little addendum here because I realized I somehow forgot to talk about the trackpads. Mostly because I haven't been using them as much, or I haven't been using the trackpad in this game as much as I've done on like my Steam Deck for some reason. I don't even know why. I just kind of haven't been. I just feel like gyro focus has been working out better for me. But yeah, if you want to use the trackpad, this kind of just similar to the gyro settings, adjust sensitivity and stuff to your tastes. So smoothing's at default by 20. I turned it down to 0 a long time ago. I don't know if I want to keep it that way. I do also have it to where the trackpad like only will go left and right, I think is what I have here. Okay, that's mostly when you're flicking the trackpad. Right. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, it's like a left to right flick. That still kind of went up anyway. But anyway, generally, you know, trackpad, I'm not aiming with the trackpad. I'm getting to like the general area of where I want to be facing. But mostly it's kind of a similar case to the Steam Deck. Like the positioning of the trackpad is just not as comfortable as like on the original Steam controller. So I have actually found with the new controller and with the Steam Deck that thumbstick plus gyro tends to just be really comfy. But you can use a trackpad if you want to, if you can find a comfortable grip to do that for yourself. Right, and then as for other gyro settings, the one setting that I highly recommend changing is the 3DOF to 2D conversion style. By default, on a standalone gamepad, this will be on yaw, which works okay, but for standalone controllers, player space is highly recommended. There's an article by Jib Smart about like gyro orientation stuff. I will try to remember to put that in the video description down below. If I forget to, yell at me in the comments and then I will find it and fix it. Other than that, other settings here are pretty much like if you want to go through and like really try to optimize how your gyro settings feel. For the most part, I have found that I tend to do best with just having the dots per 360 calibrated, doing my preferred sensitivity of 4x, and the orientation, and then like all these other little tweaks you can do, like dead zone and precision speed. Some people like to turn off the dead zone and turn up the precision speed. But in general, I tend to just not change the other stuff, and then that just works for me. What the fuck? Hello? What? Hey, sorry about that brief little internet hiccup. All right, so anyway, that pretty much covers gyro settings. Let's go over to the, what is it called? Timed practice range. And let's do a little demonstration. So for reference, these are what I have everything set to. And let's go.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, I do want to emphasize, I am by no means a pro at any form of shooter games at all, by any stretch of the imagination. I do consider myself an enthusiast about gyro, though. And while I am definitely not the best at aiming, I do really love having gyro as an option in games because, you know, it lets you be very similar to mouse-like accuracy with the controller, but also it's just more fun to aim with gyro for me. Because, like, it kind of harkens back to, like, younger days as a kid. You'd like tilt the controller along with what you're doing in the game, except in this case it actually does something. So that's fun. So yeah, gyro's fun. Gyro is fun.
5, 4, 3, 2.
So I don't care if it's like actually as good as mouse or not. It comes close and it's more fun. I guess I should probably also say, if you're testing out your settings, yeah, probably should come to the practice range down here to get a feel for things. Or just go straight into matches, if that's what you want to do.
See them? Right there.
Oops. Still occasionally, when I'm like really trying to focus on aim, grab my controller a little too tight, so I do hit the lower back button on the right by accident sometimes.
What do I do for an encore? 5, 4, 3.
Let's do one more of these.
I should be singing lullabies. See them? Right there. do for an encore?
Okay, so I think out of those 3 runs, 7 was my highest. Sometimes I get like 8 or 9. Sometimes. Usually it's 7. Anyway. I didn't really think of how I was going to conclude this video, so yeah, gyro's fun. Those are settings that should at least give you a good baseline to get started with gyro and Marvel Rivals. Play around with the settings, get a feel for what works best for you. I don't really think that it would be good to say, here are the absolute best gyro settings for this game, because a lot of it, like most of it is up to personal preference other than like objective things such as the dots per 360. Like that is, you know, that's a per game thing. That's less personal preference. But every other setting, pretty much, your sensitivity, to some extent, the gyro orientation, although I would still heavily recommend player space. Most of the settings are just up to what feels best to you, but the point of this is that gyro is an amazing thing to have on controllers, and it's just fun. It's just fun. So go have fun. Go have fun. Take your Steam controller and go have fun. It is also worth mentioning, the Steam controller is not the only controller with gyro. The actuation methods that I showed here, like grip sense and trackpad, are more unique to the Steam controller than other controllers, but you can, of course, do most of what I showed in this video with any gyro-capable controller. So, yeah, go have fun.
See them? Right there.
Anyway, I think that pretty much concludes things for this video. It was just mostly a quick overview of giving a good baseline for gyro settings and brief little demonstration. So yeah, I think the next thing that I want to do is I want to do a bit more of a deep dive of this controller. Well, that's fun. I just knocked over like half the things on the table next to my desk. Don't worry about it. Comparing this controller to this guy. Mostly focused on the D-pad and the thumbsticks. And also with a little bit from this guy. But mostly these two. Anyway, that'll be for the next video. Till then, thank you guys for watching. This has been Axel. And goodbye.